Not only the bishops of the Holy Land, but also members of the laity are preparing for the Synod of Catholic Bishops in the Middle East, considering many aspects and requests. In Bethlehem, a meeting with the Latin Patriarch Emeritus, Michel Sabah, and ahead of the synagogue, there is also a message to the Pope from the Palestinian President, Abu Mazen. A Marian feast in the sanctuary of Hortus Conclusus with biblical memories, celebrated on the feast of Our Lady of the Garden. Many Christians gather at Hortus, an entirely Moslem Palestinian village. The Chilean community gather to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Chilean State. Chileans in Israel and Palestine assemble at a Mass concelebrated at St. Saviour's Church, seat of the custody of the Holy Land. So many succahs on balconies, hotels and in the streets, to commemorate the 40 years in which the Hebrew people crossed the desert, the Feast of Succot in Jerusalem. In the Holy Land, it is not only the bishops and all religious, but also the laity who are involved in preparations for the Synod of Catholic Churches in the Middle East, and they are reflecting on the needs which apply to their areas in particular, especially the needs of Christians who are familiar with daily life in the Holy Land with all its challenges. An interesting starting point, which they have been examining in Bethlehem at the School of the De La Salle brothers with the Latin Patriarch Emeritus, Monsignor Michel Sabah. The questions asked by Christians are the same as those asked throughout the Middle East. Christians are aware of being a small minority in a large society, and immigration means that this minority is diminishing further. And then there are political challenges concerning Israel, the politics of the occupation, limitations on liberty, social life that is constrained, and a general situation of instability. The Synod presents an opportunity for reflection on the current situation, one that is not easy. Conflict, political and social instability in most of the countries concerned, which is the case in Bethlehem, a city encircled by a wall and where daily 30,000 inhabitants no longer constitute a Christian majority as was the case in the past. Muslims now make up 72%, whereas the totality of Christians of all denominations number less than 28%. Our needs are practical because they concern situations in which we live daily. How can we educate our children in a difficult political situation? As far as relations between schools and families are concerned, it's often the case that no concessions are made concerning proposals made by the schools, and such Christian education that is available is obtained away from school. I speak as a teacher and a mother. I treat the children at school as if they were my sons and daughters. I seek their good. I have to say that the Synod discussions will go further, certainly to reflect on conflict, yet to work carefully. Within the realities of Bethlehem, in order to enable my charges to live together despite a divergence of religion and social classes, I am convinced that united, these difficulties will be overcome. It is an intense moment, one must say, but we need to reflect quietly, to pray and to think carefully about our situation. The Holy Father has taken the initiative, and thanks to him, all the bishops and heads of churches will be united in order to think and pray. I hope it will be a moment of grace for all the churches of the Middle East. In full support of the Synod, and particularly the bishops of the Middle East, who will analyze the situation of Christians in the area, this was the message of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in a message addressed to Pope Benedict XVI. In this message, released on September the 22nd to the Palestinian News Agency and featured on the website abuna.org, Abu Mazen writes of the emigration of Palestinian Christians obliged to leave their homeland because of the Israeli occupation and the confiscation of land, obstacles which threaten peace in the region. The message underlines the fundamental role of the Church. The message underlines the fundamental role of the Church and its contributions at various social levels, health, education, relief services, which demonstrates the efficiency of Palestinian citizens in the interests of the community. The President expressed the hope that the Synod of Bishops will result in important decisions in terms of justice and peace in the Holy Land. A peace which, he says, will be the basis for harmonious relations in the region and for believers in every age. In this small fertile valley with lush vegetation which contrasts with the surrounding arid landscape, there rises the slender and elegant spire of the Hortus Conclusus church, built to commemorate a biblical event. We are 2 kilometers from Bethlehem, and this place is popularly known as the Gardens of Solomon. A tradition describes how the king was in the habit of walking here early in the morning, and how one day he was inspired to make the beauty of the gardens immortal in composing here his celebrated Song of Songs. And it was here on Sunday, September the 19th, that many Christians of the Holy Land, from the Palestinian territories as well as Jerusalem, gathered for a Mass to concelebrate the 400th anniversary of the apparitions of Our Lady of the Garden at Chiavari in Italy, with which this sanctuary is associated. In his homily, the Auxiliary Bishop of Jerusalem, William Shomely, who was the presiding celebrant, underlined among other things the importance of the forthcoming Synod of Middle Eastern Bishops, the objective of which is primarily spiritual, he said, and is designed to help us live our faith to a greater extent. In part, we ask for the protection of Mary to save us from every evil, particularly of sin, from the evil of war, the evil of hatred, because the problem is that we do not have peace. We hope that the situation here in Palestine will attract the interest of Christians everywhere, so that they see that we are not only in a Palestinian land, an Arab land, but also a Christian land. It is important for us to celebrate this feast of Mary and to confirm our Christian presence here in order to show people that here there really are Christians celebrating Christian festivals. And our sisters, daughters of the Most Holy Lady of the Garden, have offered this nursing service to villagers since 1901, when the sanctuary was established. So this in itself is not new. What is new is appropriate premises, because here at Hortus, as in many Palestinian villages, there is neither hospital nor clinic. Here, beneath the mosque, a doctor has been available every week, but the people are in need of daily nursing to treat accidents, insect bites, things that might occur on any day. For such matters, we are available 2 hours daily, except for Fridays and Sundays, which are holy days for Muslims and Christians respectively. Following the Mass, according to custom, a statue of Our Lady of the Garden was carried in procession. It was an occasion of prayer and rejoicing, in which so many Palestinians, together with their Muslim villagers at Hortus, met in intercession, the sisters said, and returned the statue of Mary to its customary place. The Republic of Chile is celebrating its 200th anniversary, and the Chilean community in Israel and Palestine met to celebrate this at St. Saviour's Church, seat of the custody of the Holy Land. A Mass in honor of Our Lady of Carmine, patroness of the Republic of Chile, at which diplomatic representatives, as well as civilians and members of the Chilean armed forces were present, was celebrated. The liturgy was presided over by Father Artemio Victores and concelebrated by Chilean Franciscan friars, among them Fathers Raúl Dinamarca and Sergio Olmedo, chaplains to the community. For some years, Chilean Catholics have known the sanctuary of St. John of the Desert near Ein Karem as a centre of prayer, and the Father Superior there is their chaplain, Father Sergio. The Chilean faithful, especially diplomats, military personnel and their families, as well as many other foreign residents of the Holy Land, have been a welcome addition to the small Christian communities here. However, Chileans resident in Israel number more than 10,000, and some of these live in the Palestinian territories. Some 3,000 years ago, Moses led the children of Israel through the Sinai desert on their way to the Promised Land. For 40 years, they lived in improvised shelters, which came to be called Succot in Hebrew. The Jewish people have not forgotten this prophetic journey, for every year they construct these shelters, at home, in hotels, and in the streets, for the 7-day festival of Succot. They eat in these colourful shelters, and some even sleep in them, as a reminder of God's providence. This is the happiest time of the year for the Jewish people. It is a festival that brings us together, and the weather here is better at this time of the year than in my native Paris, where it is likely to rain. This might be described as a luxury sukkah, built on the balcony of a hotel in Jerusalem. But there's a simpler version being made ready in the parking lot. The festival decorations feature fruit, notably dates, for this is the season for fresh ones. For those who might not have the time to build the sukkah at home, an enterprising Jerusalem company sells do-it-yourself kits. They even have a mini sukkah for young children for whom the festival is a particular delight. What does Succot mean to the religiously observant? God gave us this festival to commemorate our flight from Egypt more than 3,000 years ago. In the desert there was no shade, but He gave us a cloud which covered us for 40 years. It was mainly to protect us from the sun, a sign of God's love for the people of Israel. So today God wants us to celebrate Succot, to leave our homes, our normal shelters, and dwell in improvised shelters with a few branches for a roof, so as to receive the blessing of God in these days and throughout the year. Sukkah decorations can be homemade or bought in shops where there is a plentiful supply. This Jerusalem resident is an immigrant from Russia, and he confirms that celebrating Sukkot here is quite different and very special. I came to know this festival for the first time 16 years ago, and it marked the beginning of my acceptance of Judaism. I met a rabbi, and although I knew I was a Jew, I did not know about these things, the Jewish New Year, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and I have come to love Sukkot the best. Sukkot, tabernacles, booths, tents, a biblical event celebrated every year, lest we forget.